Hi everyone, I'm back to working on my personal game project called Sticky Feet, which is a suspenseful 3D platformer where you play as a lizard. It's actually been a while since my previous update, and since then I've been making plenty of improvements. In the devlog, I'll be talking about how I created the climbing system in the game. Without further ado, let's get into it. A quick recap. Sticky Feet is a game where you play as a lizard in a dilapidated trailer home in the Louisiana Cajun Swamps, where you have to hide from toads and a crazy grandma. The main skill that the player has is the ability to climb anywhere. I actually had an old climbing system, but it felt very rigid and only worked on smooth edges. Kinda felt a lot like Assassin's Creed, but I wanted a more dynamic climbing system. So I decided to scrap it and come up with something new. I worked on the new climbing animation in Maya using a rig I did before, and then imported it into Unreal Engine. From there, I started coding the basic logic for the climbing. I first made the player character fire out ray tracers to detect the wall, and then allow them to stick to it when the climb button is pressed. Next, I worked on the movement when on the wall, which of course naturally resulted in disaster. I fixed up these bugs by orienting the character properly to the surface. I then made the move vector to be the inverse normal of the hit location. This way, they walk parallel to the wall surface. With some polish, tweaks, and additional ray tracers for proper edge detection, I managed to create a more reliable climbing system. Following that, I polished the player navigation a lot more by adding the ability to jump off walls, coupled with some stretch and squash to add to the juice of it. After I was happy with it, I worked a bit on tweaking the level design. For this, I actually did sort of a reverse process, as I used to be a game artist, so all the assets were already done before I even attempted proper level design. I went back to pen and paper and considered the flow and the pacing of the gameplay a lot more. The objective of the player is to collect components around the house to build into some fancy contraption to help break into the fridge. To facilitate this, I used a molecule level design process to determine locations where desired components could be, and adjusted prop placements such that it gave some guidance for the player. By creating multiple pathways, I was able to also provide player agency as well. Then, I added a bunch of toads around specific choke points and open areas to pace the difficulty of navigation. With that settled, the game felt a lot more smoother to move around in, and made the fantasy of playing as a lizard a lot more immersive. However, since this is the core mechanic, I'm planning to spend a lot more time editing this to perfection. Overall, I'm really glad to be working on Sticky Feet again while I'm taking a pause on my current school project, Fide. I'll leave a link to that devlog in the description below. I hope you found this video enjoyable. Thank you for watching, and yeah, see you guys next time.